over the Bay Area economy.
Okay. Where's my thing?
Will the thing be?
Okay. So there we've got the Best of Investing radio show, and we are.
Are you
live.
doing the video?
Yeah, we'll see how that works. Still haven't figured out how to send it to the station correctly, though. Sorry about that. Okay. You got a good article to start with?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one on the Bay Area economy.
Yeah. So our times are ready?
Yeah.
6:10, 8:28, 8:10, 9:17, and 5:10. You ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Well, welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money. Mark Hanf is off today. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. The certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon, with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. It's worth about $100. And if you don't want it, you can give it away to somebody else. So it's a nice little gift, right? Okay, today's trivia theme is general trivia. Nom, you got an interesting article for us.
Yeah, there's an article that came out this week. I don't remember what publication it is. I printed it out, but didn't have the heading here. But it says, were it a country, the Bay Area's economy would be larger than Saudi Arabia's, getting rich from its residents' mines rather than minerals pumped from the ground, according to a new report. And it said the Bay Area's annual growth rate of 4.3% over the past 3 years was nearly double that of the U.S. as a whole. If we were a country, the Bay Area, not California, we would be behind only 18 other countries in terms of total GDP.
Yeah, because California is like the 9th or
4th or 5th.
4th now? Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. They're richer than Saudi Arabia, especially with barrel oil at $73 a barrel.
Yeah, well, and it's not just tech too. There's a diversity of industries here, which in the article it says the diversity of the Bay Area economy should hopefully lead to more resilience in the next downturn.
And just wait, if we had offshore drilling in California, I'm just teasing people.
It says tech jobs boomed since the end of the recession, growing 45% to more than 750,000 workers in 2017. Overall employment in the region grew by 26%. The other thing, though, this is interesting because it leads into another article. It says the per capita GDP of the 9-county Bay Area is nearly 80,000, ranked first among U.S. Major metro regions.
Mm-hmm.
But in another article, it says the Bay Area is so expensive, earning $117,400 a year qualifies you as low income in some counties.
And welfare.
Right. So in spite of the booming economy, it's still very hard to be able to afford. And yet another article talked about how millennials, home ownership for those 25 to 34 years old was just at 37%, around 8 percentage points lower than the 2 previous generations at the same age.
Yeah.
So there's a number of different. Overall, the economy is great.
Yeah.
But affordability for housing is still tough here. So it's still a tight market for housing. They're not building enough. And so we see scenarios all the time where people aren't quite there in terms of qualifying for a conventional loan, or they're competing against all cash buyers, and they have a home to sell. So we're busier than ever on the private lending side.
At Pacific Private Money.
Yeah, because of a lot of these influences.
Because they've also talked about, everybody's fleeing the state because of that, but that's not really the case either, is it?
No. In fact, part of the reason why millennials can't afford is they're moving to the densely populated areas, the essentially major metros, which are many of the areas experiencing the greatest amount of home price appreciation.
San Francisco.
So by moving here, it's very attractive for a lot of different reasons, or a lot of major metros, LA included. It's harder to afford these markets. So that's part of the reason why in this article it states that millennials aren't buying at the same rate as previous generations. It's just they're not living in the suburbs. They're choosing, in general, to move in high density areas.
I mean, there was a time, 10 years ago when the Great Recession happened, where a lot of people were gun shy about buying.
Mhm.
Once it became 2009, 10, 11, they just said, you know what, who wants to own a home? Look what's going on. Prices are going down.
Right.
So I don't know how many of those people decided to change their mind and they jumped back into the market.
Yeah, probably. And we'll touch on some of these articles again later. I think there's more good nuggets of information for people.
Okay, very good. I want to make a quick mention here for the Renaissance Indian Wells Resort and Spa, which is a desert oasis for a family getaway in the Coachella Valley. It's the perfect place to recharge and relax poolside in the sandy beach area, or send the kids off for a day of camp at Camp Oasis. The world-class resort features well-appointed guest rooms, 5 restaurants, and a rejuvenating spa. Plus, you can book your summer family getaway today, and your kids eat free. Check them out at renindianwells.com for details, or call 760-773-4444. Okay, so moving on here to our first trivia question. We're talking general trivia here. Which Flintstones character was absent from the Flintstone vitamins until 1996? That's kind of a weird question. Call 888-912-1190 to answer this question, and you'll win the first caller with the correct answer is going to win the tanning certificate. Which Flintstones character was absent from the Flintstone vitamins until 1996? So something must have happened in 1996 where
that character protested.
Yeah. Said, hey, wait a minute. I want a Flintstone vitamin named after me.
What I want to know is who's the one who actually tracked that? Did they go every year and they go, still not on the bottle?
Exactly. Yeah. Or why wasn't this character on to begin with? I don't know the answer to that, but we'll find out. All right. Don't touch that dial. The best of investing is going to be right back. All right. Off the cuff question. All right.
I don't know who it was. Let's see. I'll guess Barney.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. This is going to be July 14. All right. I still haven't figured out how to do this thing correct. I mean, I've got this, which will go up on Facebook, but I don't know how to do it correctly. Does anybody know? Does anybody help me? Can high def and then be able to put captions, So I'm still doing it because we can maybe, edit on later on.
Yeah.
So that's that's that, and maybe this is, we'll take a lot of the segment to talk about, because Mike will probably listen, and it'd be nice to get a lot of clarification on kind of loans we do.
So before we do that, also continue with that article a little bit just to fill the time. But which particular aspects did you want to tackle?
Just all the various things in the fund. Like what kind of loans do you put in the fund?
Yeah.
Okay. And because I'll tell you what we'll go into the email question, because that's about putting seconds. If you do seconds.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's when you can mention that, actually we have done a third.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Edward Brown here, along with Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money. Our first trivia question was, which Flintstone character was absent from the Flintstone vitamins until 1996?
Barney Rubble?
No, his wife, Betty Rubble. I have no idea why.
Some backstory. We'll have
some
to
backstory.
investigate.
Exactly.
I'll get on it.
I want to make a quick mention here also for the Transcendence Theater. I don't know if you've ever gone to any of their performances, but they're pretty fantastic. They have this Broadway Under the Stars in Jack London State Park. You ever been there? In Glen Ellen? It is awesome. You sit in these grounds, and then they have a theater. It's an outdoor theater.
Yeah.
During the summertime, they do these plays.
I went to the Mountain Play for the first time.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that's right. It's
great.
It's along those lines. Okay. And these guys are really good. They're actually better than Broadway. I got to say, they're better than Broadway. Check them out. Go to bestnightever.org and look at the schedule. You got to go to at least one of them. Okay. Continue on with the article that you have.
Oh yeah, so this article about the Bay Area economy, one of the people mentioned is Chris Thornburg. He's an economist that we follow a lot. He's a really sharp guy. He's founder of research firm Beacon Economics. He said, you'll have continued growth in the Bay Area. I don't see any reason for it to slow down. Tech continues to thrive, but tech grows at the expense of older parts of the economy. So across California, less expensive regions like the Inland Empire and San Joaquin Valley are seeing greater population growth. Part of that is that he was saying that every time a new Google worker moves in, an old economy worker moves out. So, which means that high-tech, high-paying jobs are displacing some of the old economy jobs where
people using Abacus.
Yeah, the Abacus industry is on its last legs right now. But they're moving out either out of state or in other counties like San Joaquin Valley or the Inland Empire. So people are moving. There is migration out of the Bay Area, but it's not necessarily out of California. It could be other counties in California that are less expensive or more affordable.
So are those areas growing?
Yeah,
because Stockton I know was actually kind of growing.
Yeah, so he says here less expensive regions like the Inland Empire, Sacramento area, San Joaquin are seeing greater population growth.
Which theoretically would mean those prices are going up.
Yeah, and then last year Riverside County alone added 36,000 people, the third highest of any U.S. county.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, so the people leaving the Bay Area and the state altogether were concentrated in lower paying sectors like sales, transportation, and food prep, which meant they would be less affected by the state's higher tax rates. So it's really interesting. I mean, California, the bottom line is Bay Area continues to be a hugely vibrant marketplace.
So I wonder what happens with the lower paying jobs, be it McDonald's, let's say as an example. Where do those people live then?
Kind of probably the fringe areas, or maybe they're larger, more people in one household.
Oh yeah.
That could be it. But what's interesting is, using McDonald's as an example, you ever drive up to the drive-through, oftentimes the person greeting you is a recording now, and then afterwards it's the actual person taking your order. So things like that are. There's some automation going on there.
Well, I'm just waiting for Amazon to send a drone to drop off my McDonald's Big Mac.
It's probably not too far off.
Not too far off. Tell you what, let's. I got an email here that came in, and this is primarily for I guess anybody at Pacific Private Money, so you can answer this question. Is when does it make sense to do a second mortgage, if ever? Like, does it ever make sense to make a second mortgage?
We do seconds. So we do lend on seconds, and some of the common scenarios that come our way, I mean, they don't represent all of them, but some of the ones that we see are, somebody could refinance. Obviously, somebody could refinance their first if they have a lot of equity.
Okay.
And it's, let's say they have $100,000 first on $1 million property. Well, somebody could say, well, I'll just refi and do $200,000. But if they have a really low interest rate on that first, it won't make sense, economic sense, if they get 200,000, but now their rate went from 4% to 5.5%, something like that. Maybe they only need 50,000. That's when it could make a second could make sense. Is when their first is such a great rate that refinancing it to get more money out of their house just doesn't make sense.
Gotcha. I know an example that I was personally involved with a few years ago where the property was supposedly worth $315, and when we checked it out, it was correct. It really was about worth $315,000, and this person wanted a second mortgage of $79,000. You go, okay, well that's okay, but what's the first? Well, the first was only $19,000.
Right.
And so, but it was at 2.5%, and it was fixed for another 25 years or something, and they didn't want to disturb it. So they were willing to pay a higher interest rate on the second because the combined with the first and the second, it still gave them a decent rate.
Right.
But now, some people, when they hear, oh no, never invest in a second mortgage. Well, wait a minute. You got a property worth $315,000, and the first is only $19,000, and they're only needing $79,000. I mean, that's less than 30% loan to value.
Right.
And if anything goes wrong, all you have to do is pay off the first, and then now you've got your second becomes one big first. So, what you don't want is to do, $100,000 second behind an $800,000 first, and the property's worth $1 million.
Right.
Then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and somebody, just because somebody has a low interest rate first doesn't mean, and they come to us for a second, doesn't mean we'll do it for that exact reason.
Yeah.
If I have a huge first and I'm coming and I need a small second, well, we may not, as a company, we may not do that loan just because the first, we don't want to be behind a big first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mean you don't just anybody walks in and just wants a mortgage, you don't give it to them?
Right. Of course.
You look like a nice guy. Sure, we'll give you a mortgage. Actually, you guys say no a lot, don't you?
We do say no typically 9 out of 10 times. Another reason why somebody may want a second is just because of speed too. I mean, it may, whether or not, regardless of what the rate is on their first, let's say that they want to do some repairs on their home before they put it on the market.
Okay.
And maybe it's not a huge amount, but they just want to get it done, and working with a bank might take too long. So in that case, people come to us for speed, and they know they're going to exit out of our loan as soon as they sell, either refinance or just pay it off completely. But really for them, it's just a hassle. They don't want to deal with going through a bank for 45 to 60 day process.
And if the numbers make sense, potentially you might even make a third mortgage.
Yeah, so in some cases, it makes sense to make a third. And again, sort of the same overall analysis we do. How big is the first? How big is the second?
Exactly, yeah.
If are the first and the second,
From
from the same bank,
lender, yeah,
the same lender. So there's a lot of circumstances, and sometimes people, every story we do, every scenario that we end up funding, whether it's a first, a second, commercial, business purpose, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, because I want you to tell the audience about your track record.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's our second trivia question. What was the name of Henry Ford's only son? Call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that tanning certificate, which is worth over $100. What was the name of Henry Ford's only son? All right. And when we come back, Nam Phan from Pacific Private Money is going to get into the track record of Pacific Private Money. You're going to want to listen to this because it's very impressive. All right. Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing will be right back. It's very impressive. Very impressive, I'll tell you.
Did I tell you it's impressive?
Did I take it? All right. Let's find. It's funny. When Kramer was recording the shows, we actually had before when we were on Talk 910, so we were only on ones. I would get phone calls on Sunday. I had no idea why, and then it turns out people were watching the TV show, and because they'd answer a question, I go, "That wasn't the question." I go, "Wait, that answer sounds familiar." It turns out it was from like 6 months ago. We had an old show on.
Oh, really? That's funny. And it was on, what station was it on?
The CMCM.
Oh, okay.
Channel 26. And we honored it, though. Yeah, we said, hey, listen, you're the first caller with correct answer on that day, so. See, when Lighthouse was giving it, there were a lot more people answering because, they figured they'd do free camping. But they're kind of full up, though. So
oh, really?
Yeah. And the cabins are almost filled all the time.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Especially right now. That's
Oh yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah, there'd be no time to give some freebies on that. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, and he is Nam Phan. Him, that guy over there on the other side of the microphone.
Me.
You. All right. So tell us, Nam, what was the name of Henry Ford's only son?
Henry.
No. Think of an old Ford.
Oh, geez, Ford.
Edsel.
Edsel.
Edsel. That was his name, Edsel. That's not a trick question, but one. Okay, interesting. Okay, all right. And on to bigger and better things. So we told the audience, teased them a little bit about saying how good your track record is. That we give that information when we got back.
Yeah. So our track record, going back to 2008, which is when we launched. We've funded over, I think at this point, over 1,400 plus loans, really close to $500 million in loan volume, 0 losses. So, I mean, obviously, as lenders, you have people who don't pay on time or who pay late, or sometimes, worst case scenarios, you have to file a notice of default or take the property back and go through a foreclosure process. We've gone through all of those. So, we've had some loans that go south in terms of the borrowers not paying and having to take the property back. Bottom line, though, is there's a lot that happens between when somebody doesn't pay and when we have to liquidate the property, sell it. That doesn't necessarily result in a loss. Oftentimes, it actually results in a profit. And because if you're underwriting correctly, and if you're initially when you're making a loan, if you have, a certain minimum loan to value that you stick to. So for us, it's 70% loan to value. There's some equity there. Hopefully, there's some equity there, and there has been. So we've been fortunate that, in spite of any late borrowers or properties that we've had to foreclose and take back, bottom line is out of the 1,400 plus loans and close to $500 million, we've never had any loss of principal for our investors.
And there are times when you don't have to take a property back, but you file a notice of default, and then 3 months later, before the actual foreclosure, the borrower comes up with the money.
Oh, yeah.
And then they also pay late fees.
Right, and there's countless times that happens. Those are great. Ultimately, we want to work with borrowers. We're not the type of lenders who, and we've gotten a great reputation for this, I'd like to say, and pat ourselves on the back, but we work with the borrowers. We just don't go straight to filing notice.
Not loan to own.
We're not loan to own. Yeah, that's a term, industry term.
Industry term. And well, here's the other thing too, is a lot of people, they may say, 2008, you weren't through the hard times. But actually, if you're making loans in 2008, 9, and 10, the market was still going down.
Right.
So it's pretty impressive that you didn't have any losses. Now, the fund hasn't been around since 2008. It's only been around since 2013.
Correct.
What has happened since then, since it started?
Since the fund started?
Yeah.
In terms of just the returns?
Yeah.
The types of loans
again, no losses.
Yeah, no losses. I think we've had lent on 300 some odd properties loans, of which currently we have about 96 loans in the portfolio.
Okay, because they turn over pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of our loans are short term, not all of them. We have some loans that are in there 24, 36 months, but we also do a lot of bridge loans. So the overall mix is pretty healthy in terms of the turnover rate.
Yeah, because you're not like a regular bank making 30-year loans. That's not your model.
Right. Our model is typically high revolution of capital.
Okay, and what kind of yield can the investors have they been seeing?
They've been seeing 7.5% to 8% since inception. It's been very, very steady since 2013, since we launched on the fund side.
And usually the maximum loan to value is about 70%.
Mm-hmm. But the weighted average for the fund itself is about 55%.
Okay, so, and then every once in a while you might go above 70 if it's a property that seems like in your backyard or something.
Yeah. Okay. Again, we evaluate each loan scenario on its merits.
Okay. What about geography? Where do you lend?
We lend throughout California. So and some out of state.
Some out of state. Okay. What out of state loans do you have?
We have a few in Minnesota, I think Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But it's through another firm that provides the capital to the borrowers and their hypothecated notes.
Okay, so it's not necessarily some guy from Pennsylvania calls you up and says, "Hey, will you lend on my house?"
Right.
It's a California
We're lending
company.
to a lender.
Yeah, it's lending to a lender who's borrowing against his portfolio, against their portfolio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it represents a small percentage of our total loan volume and total units. Of loans too.
And are you only lending on residential homes?
Nope, some commercial.
Okay.
So not just residential. And sometimes people, we don't want to give people that impression that we just lend on residential. There's a lot of scenarios that we see that are ultimately they're residential.
Okay.
And in the Bay Area, a lot of them are residential, but there's always a mix of some commercial in there as well.
And then can you give a little explanation about, people think that it's business purpose versus consumer and owner occupied?
Yeah. So a common question, or maybe not as common as we often get, but people sometimes think business purpose versus a business loan, or consumer or owner occupied versus non-owner occupied.
Okay.
So a business purpose essentially means that it's a loan that they're needing for a property that they're not living in as their primary residence. It could mean that they're using it for their business, but that business could also be fixing and flipping properties. So everything we do is the underlying asset or collateral is real estate. Now, whether they use that money. So like our deal of the week is somebody who's using 500,000 for their business. They were going to get an inheritance, but they own their home free and clear, so they use the equity from their home
Until the inheritance comes
in, right?
Okay.
But it's business purpose. It's not a business loan per se, because business loan could be unsecured.
Okay, yeah,
like
or
SBA
backed,
loan.
yeah, or backed by a piece of equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, because you only do real estate loans.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's a point of clarification that we should probably bring up every once in a while.
Okay, and the same thing. What kind of commercial loans do you have?
Commercial, I don't know the actual properties or portfolio, but we've made some commercial loans on like storage.
Okay.
Units, and where there was, and in that case too, I think there was residential real estate
Okay.
in a cross collateralized situation.
Okay.
So,
And then, if I understand correctly, there is like one loan in there that's a gas station.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, gas station in there. Don't have the details of it, but
Okay.
probably something we can cover up or cover in a future
Okay.
radio show.
But it has paid though. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
it's
not
been
behind.
consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, every scenario, we evaluate on its own merits.
Okay.
So,
All right. Last trivia question we have here is how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? And I'll give you a hint, somewhere between 0 and 20. All right.
okay.
Call 888-912-1190 to answer this. I have to give you one easy one, right? How many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? All right. And that's our trivia question. Call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that tanning certificate. And don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing will be right back.
How many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? Is that 2?
One more large segment.
917.
Yes. What do you want to cover on that?
Let's see here. What else can we cover?
Oops.
Maybe would be worthwhile to touch
Oh,
on.
deal of the week. We
We touched on that briefly.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll add to that, and then maybe could we go back to, let's see, Bay Area
Whatever
is
you
so expensive.
whatever you want.
Like marriage. Oh yeah, let's touch on the millennials thing
Hmm?
too. Let's see.
I'm just here to meet your needs, my friend.
All right. How can that help me help you?
Help me, help me.
What was the trivia question again? Oh, teaspoons.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money. Here is our last trivia question. How many teaspoons are in a tablespoon?
Criminy, my wife's gonna kill me. Is it 2?
And the survey
4.
says, it's 3.
3? Oh my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I know. I always thought it was two teaspoons in a tablespoon.
Who's the maniac that came up with that?
I don't know. I know. Why would it be 3? That's kind of weird. Okay. So, Nam, you want to
Deal of the week.
Yeah, give us deal of the week.
So I was touching on the deal of the week earlier. So borrower comes to us, Los Gatos. They were going to get an inheritance. Had a home that's free and clear, 3.8 million.
Wow.
Yeah, needed 500,000 for their business. Not sure what their business was, but so we look at it. You've got a home, free and clear. You want to borrow 500 against essentially close to 4 million, and you're going to get an inheritance. That's the kind of deal that we would do.
And why didn't they go to the bank?
I think this was a speed issue.
Speed.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's again speed issue. And gosh, I hope the banks continue to take as long as they take, because these are, if we were back in the old days, banker down the street where everyone knows you, and you come up with a story like this, most bankers 50 years ago would have said yes, absolutely. And
Yeah, I wonder how
probably
fast
did that.
what's the fastest a bank can really move though, because you have to get an appraisal.
Right.
I mean, for them, for the
Right.
bank, they have to get an appraisal.
Yeah, I don't know how fast they can move, but apparently they needed this loan pretty quickly, and we were able to fund it and close it. It's 13% loan to value.
That's a pretty conservative deal.
Right. Los Gatos. too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not
and-
out in the it's not out in the boonies.
yeah, so it's a great opportunity.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I wanted to go back to some of the articles.
Well,
I think
before we
this-
do though, hold
yeah.
on. People are listening and going, "This sounds pretty good." And right now, the fund is paying around 7.5%. How do if they're interested in investing in the fund? How do they get a hold of you?
Yes, the question of the week. No, they can call us 415-883-2150. That's the number to our office. And you can ask for me, Nam Phan, or you can go onto our website, www.pacificprivatemoney.com. We don't have any events coming up, certainly not July and August. It's people are taking vacation, so we'll do our next event in September, to be determined where we promised everyone would be out in the South Bay and the Peninsula, but not sure yet. More details to come. But if you're interested in investing, just give us a call, 415-883-2150, or you can fill out a form on our website at www.pacificprivatemoney.com. And happy to talk to you and give you more information about our fund.
Okay.
But yeah, so going back to some of these articles, back to millennials. It's always interesting. Some other factors that show why the rate of homeownership is declining is they're delaying marriage. So a study calculates that the marriage rate in 2015 was the same as it was in 1990. Millennial homeownership rate would have been 5 percentage points higher.
So aren't some people, they're living together and buying a home, even if they're not getting married?
Yeah, even if they're not getting married, but in general, they're not settling down. They're waiting longer to settle down. And a lot of them just are choosing to rent. So, for the realtors or mortgage brokers out there, or some of you who are parents of millennials, I don't know, is that good news? Your kids are going to be in your basement for a little bit longer.
Well, some of it is the settling down part, but a lot of it, you got to think there's got to be they don't have the down payment.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Oh, yeah. So another factor is higher student debt than previous generations. So there's a lot of factors influencing it. I mean, the the millennial generation is one of the biggest after baby boomers, or maybe it's even larger at this point. But so in aggregate, the gross number of people buying is high, but the on a percentage basis versus other generations, it's a smaller number because of higher student debt. Moving into and preferring more densely populated and indirectly more expensive metro areas, and they're just waiting longer to settle down, partially because people are living longer these days too.
Yeah, but also they want the experience,
Right. They're into less material possessions and more into experience of things.
Wonder where that came from. It's just kind of weird how it's kind of as a generation.
Sometimes generations do the opposite of what the parents did.
Yeah, because I remember like in the 80s, it was like, man, it's all about me. I got to make as much money as I can. And,
right, and I think that's part of the influences. They saw, our generation spending it all on material goods, and maybe seeing that, did it make us any happier? So no, who knows? But oftentimes they do the opposite of their parents.
It made the car dealership happy.
Yeah, not these days though. Who knows what'll happen with car dealerships and car ownership. So I think ownership of material possessions in general is going down, and it's more on experience, like you were saying. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, in a local, everything's local. So our local economy is still super vibrant. We're busier than ever this month. July, we had a slower June. Things slowed down a little bit, but July is, it's just like last year, June was busy and July was slow. It's just maybe it's flip-flopped a little bit, and we're extremely busy right now. People are back in the home buying mode this month, so we're seeing a lot of scenarios where we're helping people out who have a home that they want to put on the market, but they want to purchase first, or their home is on the market and they're in contract and they can't close concurrently.
Yeah, and a lot of people do not want to move twice.
Yeah, that's.
And since you don't have a prepayment penalty on your loans, it's just the extra interest that they have to pay that gets expensive.
Exactly. So our bridge loan is really popular right now. We're doing a lot. We have a lot in the pipeline right now of loans that are bridge loans. Many of them cross. Many of them are scenarios where the homeowner just can't close concurrently.
And as I understand it too, one of the advantages that Pacific Private Money has is the fact that you can do these consumer owner-occupied loans, whereas a lot of lenders are not licensed in that area.
Right, a lot of private lenders don't have the licensing and don't want to go through the licensing and the resources to do consumer owner occupied. It is disclosure heavy. There's more rights for the borrower, where business purpose or non-owner occupied, it's a different set of
Like the Wild West.
Not necessarily the Wild West, but that, there is more capital pouring into private money in general, but it is pouring more into the non-owner occupied,
In the fix and flip
type of lending.
Is there still a lot of fix and flip out there? Because I know that it got squeezed quite a bit.
There is, and there's going to be more of it. And I mentioned this in previous shows where the baby boomers, there's 60 million households where the homes haven't been improved in 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
So as those boomers downsize or move out, or maybe expand the footprint of their home, because family members are staying, because the kids are moving out of the basement and into the first floor, they need more space. Then there's going to be still a fair amount of fix and flip for those 60 million homes that need updating. And for us, we'll see a percentage of that, but we'll also, something we talked about on the show as well previously, we'll start seeing more of the construction. Lending
because of the fires, right. Specifically because of them. And the thing is, a lot of those people, for no fault of their own per se, have a lower FICO score than another person, and they're not going to be able to get a loan. So even though they have insurance proceeds, a lot of people are underinsured.
Right, they're underinsured, and maybe their FICO isn't where it needs to be to get a bank financing. So we'll see that, but that's going to take time, and we can end the next segment on a little bit more information on the construction going on in the North Bay.
Okay, so we don't have another trivia question. We already asked our 3 trivia questions. So stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. When we come back, we're going to have some closing comments. All right, don't touch that dial.
So the last thing. Let's see. Talk PML too.
Oh, yeah. You're so funny about the swag. You like my comment about the mints?
Yeah, I love that. We should we could stretch those out even more if we only put 10 mints in per container.
I mean, are we allowed to give away wine?
We should be able to. I mean, we should give away 3 things, like 1 grand prize, 1 and 2 smaller ones.
And then do it as people come in. They have to come in to the drop their card or whatever. But they have to come in to listen to us, not just stop by the booth.
Exactly, and that's great that Keith and the radio show will help endorse us.
All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to talk about PML?
I'll finish up. Wait. Oh, with the North Bay stuff.
Okay.
And then jump into PML.
All right. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money. And we didn't have a trivia question, but Nam, you want to finish up with the North Bay stuff?
Yeah. So, from time to time, we talk about what's going on in the North Bay. And we mentioned this before, but, a lot of the claims are still unsettled. So there's still a lot of housing or development or building that's going to take place, but these claims have to be settled first. And in a couple of shows, we'll have an appraiser who from the North Bay, who's president of the Appraisal Association for, I think, Northern California, who will touch on that.
Okay.
It's always interesting to see what's going on up there, but at the last count, it was something like 66 or 60% of the claims still hadn't been settled.
Wow. Is it just the owners have not been able to come up with the evidence other than the house? I mean, I don't know.
Good question. I'm not sure if it's on the owner's side or if it's on the insurance side or a little bit of both. But with such a large number, I have to imagine it's something to do with the insurance companies side of it. But, so we'll see certainly more claims settling, hopefully sooner than later, because, I have to imagine we'd be up against the clock too, the homeowners are, for the rebuild, because fall's around the corner and then winter time. So if they don't settle by a certain time, the construction is going to be delayed.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to lose a whole season.
Right, potentially. Yeah. So that's still working its way out, and then not to mention all of the commercial structures. And I don't know what the stats on that are in terms of insurance claim settlement. So there's still a lot of housing stock that needs to be built on top of an already low housing stock.
So you guys, I would think, would be quite busy then.
We'll start being more busy as claims settle and as people start needing private capital to build, whether they're the actual homeowners who've hired a contracting crew or builders who are acquiring the lots.
Okay.
So we'll start seeing some of that.
All right. And then we, off the air, we were talking about Pacific Private Money has an additional website called Private Money Loans. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So privatemoneyloans.com is a domain that we own, as well as the website. It's a marketplace for investors, so trustee investors. If there are any listening, it's a great way to look at trustee opportunities. So on one side we have the Pacific Private Money Fund, and then those loans that we don't sell in the fund or don't lend on and don't make it in the fund may be put on privatemoneyloans.com. So they're great loans as well, but they're opportunities for trustee investors to invest on a single property or have fractional ownership in a property or multiple properties. So go to privatemoneyloans.com if you're a trustee investor to register. It's free, and we'll be putting more and more inventory on there in the coming weeks and months. It's a great place to invest alongside investing in the fund.
Okay, and people can always, I know you said about doing presentations around the Bay Area, but your office is in Novato. So people can just call you and make an appointment?
Yeah, make an appointment, come in. We've had just a couple people this week who have listened to us on the radio and made appointments to come in, so happy to do that. Or, even happy if you're in the South Bay, understand, happy to talk to you over the phone. But a lot of times people want to meet us face to face, so I'm happy to meet people out in the
Well, you have such a pretty face, no wonder they want to come meet you.
Right.
All right, any last comments before we cut to our thoughts for the day?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. So here's our thoughts of the day. Heaven on earth is a choice you must make, not a place you must find. Because it's sort of like you kind of make your own heaven on earth,
yep.
Right? Yep. And inner peace begins the moment you choose not to allow another person or event to control your emotions.
What's outer peace?
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's just the inner peace that we know about. All right. So again, for people who are interested in investing with Pacific Private Money and earning right now about 7.5%, which, by the way, there's liquidity in it. People are not tied up, are they?
Right. So if you want to, well, there's a couple of requirements. So there's a 1-year hold or lockup.
Okay.
But beyond the 1 year, if you want to redeem, give us a call. And typically it's a 2 to 4 week process.
That's 415-883-2150. All right. Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long. On the money. We have right on the money.
Awesome.
We got 13 minutes to go for this thing if I keep it the whole 56 minutes.
Okay, so 13 minutes. What can we talk about for 13 minutes?
Anything you want. Business related.
Let's see. What else?
Wait, so these people who came in, they heard on the radio and then they just came in and did they invest?
They are in process.
Oh.
Yeah. So we had one person who heard us on Best of Investing. So that's what they said. Okay. That's what they filled out.
Well, and
then the other person actually was referred by another investor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is great.
And how many, did they say how much they're putting in yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. And then, and actually, you know what? I forgot. She mentioned Fidelity. I think we should start reiterating that on the show.
Yeah.
And then also, I talked to Schwab.
I saw that email, so it's
So the guy,
pretty
so the
straightforward.
gentleman at Schwab at the Alternate Investments, they're a small
Yeah.
team, so that's great. There's only 25 people in their
Oh, okay.
division. But he walked me through the process. Essentially, so an investor who is a Schwab client
Yep.
has to initiate it. They
Yep.
would go to Schwab and
That's
say,
what we
"Here,
thought.
please, I'd like to invest in this fund." And what Schwab would ask for, which we can just send to the client,
Mhm.
is our PPM, our
Okay.
subscription booklet, and 3 years audited financials,
Okay.
and that's it. And it's a 2-week process. And then from there, from that point on, then we'll be on the platform, and then any other investor can find us.
Yeah, that'd be
So-
great. And then maybe you could even solicit it that way.
Right, and then right, there are some requirements for the investor to invest or to be able to. There's a 250,000 in assets, in traditional assets that investor client has to have with Schwab to
Okay.
be able to invest in the alternative space. If they're in-house, if they're not in-house, and I need to understand that a little bit better, they can invest. They don't need to have 250,000. Like that.
Okay.
But overall, that was encouraging. So,
Yeah.
I guess the question though is, what would make just your average Schwab RIA recommend us? They don't get compensated like we would with certain, with a broker dealer.
No, but what happens
But it would
if
just
they
be
put it
AUM.
in? It would
right?
be AUM. Yeah.
So
I mean,
they care about AUM and keeping it.
yeah,
with
and
us.
they don't have to babysit it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of important because then that way they'll realize that wow, I can just kind of get paid basis points,
Right.
on an asset that's giving better than a bond, and it's pretty conservative. Principal doesn't fluctuate, but if they need the money, they can get it out.
So if we can get approved before a September fund event, we should go after all of have dinner for the Schwab folks.
And then
for the
that website
folks.
that has the Find My Advisor.
Oh right, yeah, I need to remember to look at that.
Because I already met with the one guy who's local here. We got along very well.
Wait, did you meet him through Find My Advisor?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And so that worked out pretty well. I had a nice conversation with him, and I gave him this information, and then he'll decide whether he wants to continue.
That's great. That's great because regardless of what we do with US Capital, then
exactly.
we just do our own dog and pony shows.
They sent me the stuff. Try to study for that exam. It's not. I mean, and some of the stuff, it's like, I mean, what? It's one of those kind of exams. It's like, geez, I don't know. This is crazy, but hopefully, again, Mark's going to be really looking after himself for what he wants to negotiate on that.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see what else here. They also will be at the golf show. So what time do we need to be there?
For the golf?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be there around 8:30.
Okay.
I think that would be good.
I'll pack up the stuff tomorrow. I'm going to pack it up tomorrow, but set it up at home and make sure there's no issues with it working.
Yeah,
Should be no
exactly.
problems, but there we go. What's the attire?
I would think business casual. I mean, well, for
Like this?
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be as nicely dressed as this because I don't
Okay,
need,
like khakis and a polo
Yeah,
shirt?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
right.
That'd be completely.
Yeah, because so when you're saying, are we going to drive together or take separate? I mean, what
Yeah.
time is there? Does it end at a certain time?
Nighttime.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I talked to somebody from the Pitbull conference today,
Uh-huh.
who is business partner, is the president of the Silicon Valley Family Office Association,
Oh,
and he's gonna connect us and have a meet with them.
okay.
Because they said they do help raise capital for family offices and stuff like that. But
Might be promising.
He said, so what would their rate of return have to be? He said that typically their clients are looking to make 2 to 4x what they invested in 24 to 36 months.
Yeah, that's on us, right? We're way too conservative.
What does that come out to monthly?
2x over how much?
24 to 36 months.
24 months. I mean, you're talking about, put 100 grand in, and you want to see
224, let's say
yeah,
36
it's a
months.
50% return. Simple interest. That's ridiculous. Nobody does that unless you're, taking a lot of risk in, startups and stuff like that. It's one thing to kind of, say that we're looking for super risky. Well, if they're looking for super risky stuff, that's one thing.
I wonder if that's blended. So there's the conservative debt mixed with.
It's still pretty aggressive, I think.
Not Silicon Valley, where they're investing in startups too.
Yeah, that makes sense as to why they would be wanting to do that.
But could you imagine? I mean, would a part of their portfolio be, hey, I'll have 10% in low risk. My blended's got to be 2 to 4x.
I don't know.
Or are they just all high rollers?
All high rollers, and they just do their own thing. It's like, I don't need you for the conservative stuff. I'll throw it in, a money market account. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
That would be
yeah.
Well,
but there was a guy from the pension fund. Remember, from Silicon Valley pension fund or San Jose one, when we went down to the San Jose event a while ago. What about the guys in Southern California who had the big real estate, the father-son team?
Oh, right. So they had a brokerage.
Yeah,
mortgage brokerage, GreenPath.
Yeah.
And they own Century 21.
Yeah.
So the GreenPath, they JV'd with Stearns.
Oh, that's
and so they had to have everything approved by Stearns.
Yeah.
And then I talked to the guy about a month ago. He's like, Stearns just doesn't have an appetite for doing an agreement. I said, well, most people don't. And what we do is just a referral.
Yeah.
Just refer the client. And it seemed like they didn't want to do that either. So
they're just going to lose the business?
Yes, yeah. So I'll just keep on them because there's no reason why the brokerage, C21, couldn't just say, hey, listen, here's an outlet. We give you a name.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the.
Especially if there's no liability from their end, if that's what they're worried about.
Yeah. So I think we can get a meeting with Terry. That's the dad. The son was Brian.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow up with that. But do we hit the extra?
We need 2 minutes and 7 seconds. So I need you to do a little dance on the table here. Audience, do you want to see him do a dance on the table?
You wanted to do that. You wanted that after this was over.
I said we're wearing Pacific Private Money blue, both of us.
Would you wear a Pacific Private Money polo shirt?
You mean with a logo?
Yeah.
With a logo?
It was logoed?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because Matt said he would. Kevin said he would. I think Matt said he would.
You mean like as the specific uniform, or?
Yeah, if we were out at an event.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I would too.
Yeah, if it's if it's professionally done, sure.
Right here, polo shirt and stuff like that. No, no, I just thought like a P or something like that, or it said Pacific Private Money, but something,
Yeah,
something like any other branded shirt.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
And on the back, interest rate 7.75%.
um, okay, because I might see if I can find a vendor to create ones for like you, me, Matt,
Yeah.
and Kevin.
Well,
Kevin's
Mark.
sweet guy. I don't know, Mark. He's not a polo shirt kind of guy.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
am.
see him all
He's a
that
Tommy
into it.
Bahama type guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I like polo. I mean, you see me all the time wearing those
Yeah.
polo shirts. Yeah.
I wear a polo shirt too. So I'll look into it because I like
Yeah,
it.
they're not that expensive. I mean, you can get a good quality shirt for $20.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost that. Usually it's the first screen thing that they charge an extra
Right.
$50 or something for, but after that it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good companies out there.
I'll look into it. So
Okay.
all right, so you're
All
gonna
right,
go
man.
to the
Yeah, I'm going to go to this event, and
who's putting it on again?
it's Hanson Bridget, which is
Law firm, right?
a law firm in this building, but they're doing it at Terrapin. And one of the guys was the attorney for our old company, coincidentally. Yeah.
For equity.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then this is Brad Rogerson. So he'd been working with us since 1998 or something, 2000.
is there gonna be happy hour stuff?
Yeah.
Missing out.
I know. You're missing out on it. And we are going to say goodbye now to everyone in TV land. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. All right, Mr. Brown.